Ooh.
Was Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, I will also repeat my answer. He broke the law.
You said earlier that you were offended by a question that my colleague from Kansas asked, which I think was his duty as somebody on this committee to fulfill his responsibility to advise and consent. We are not here to be a rubber stamp for the President of the United States. So let me ask you again, do you believe, as the chairman of this committee believes, as the vast majority of members of our intelligence agencies believe, that Edward Snowden was a traitor to the United States?
To answer your question, they almost all ask about Snowden. Oh, okay.
United States of America.
Senator, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will work with you to make sure that there is not another Snowden
social media. It's not a moment to propagate theories, conspiracy theories, or attacks on journalism in the United States. This is when you need to answer the questions of the people whose votes you're asking for to be confirmed as the chief intelligence.
Oh, actually. Where do Republicans stand on this? I'm wondering if this is a thing that would hurt her in the eyes of the Republicans in the Senate, because I feel like nobody in government likes Snowden, including Republicans. I could be wrong on that, though. I don't know what Trump said about him, I guess.
Intelligence officer of this nation. As my colleague said, this is not about you. It's about the people that serve the intelligence agencies of the United States. Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question to answer when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has
your
served
answer,
in
yes
uniform,
or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
As someone who has
Why die on this hill? I actually have no idea. I don't know. God, yeah, somebody said this before. She dresses, and the hair thing makes her look like a villain. Like she looks like a bad guy in a movie. Jesus.
in our uniform in combat. I understand how critical our national security
Apparently
is.
you don't. Apparently you don't. Let me ask you. I've worked very hard to put your own words here in front of the committee. Not, fake news, not conspiracy theories on the internet, but the actual things that you have said. On February 23rd, 2022, at the very moment that Russian tanks were rolling across the peaceful border of Ukraine for the first time, you tweeted at 11:30 p.m. your time, "This war and suffering could have easily been avoided if Biden administration / NATO had simply acknowledged Russia's legitimate security concerns regarding Ukraine's becoming a member of NATO." Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet, Senator.
Yes is the answer. A few months later, you said on your podcast, and I quoted it, quote, "But this regime change war against Russia that the U.S. and NATO are waging via their proxy in Ukraine didn't begin when Putin invaded Ukraine. They had their eyes set on this objective long before that." Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot
the answer
more.
Is yes.
You're quoting a podcast that provided much more
I'm happy to have a
context.
conversation with the chairman about whether I'm taking anything out of context. I don't think I am. And your answer is yes. Are you aware that your comments about proxy wars and Russia's legitimate security concerns, to quote your own words, are in alignment with what the Russians have said to justify their invasion of Ukraine? Yes
Senator,
or no?
I don't pay attention to Russian propaganda. My goal is to speak the truth.
The answer is no.
Regardless.
I don't pay attention. I want to be the director of national intelligence, and I don't pay attention to Russian propaganda? Wait, really? Okay.
Of whether you like it or not.
I'll take it. That's fine. You said you are used to speaking truth to power.
Yes.
I'm shocked to hear you now say that you are agreeing. I'm not shocked because I know you said it. You are agreeing that you basically said that Putin was justified in rolling over the peaceful border of Ukraine, the first time since World War II that a free nation had been invaded by a totalitarian state. And you were there at 11:30 p.m. that night to say that you were with them, not us. And
Well, that's not even close to true, but okay, sure, we'll roll with it. Sure, okay.
I'll tell you something you say you don't know because you don't read Russian propaganda. Russian state TV then aired your comments. Did you know that?
Senator, I think you should also quote the statement that I made criticizing Putin for his invasion of Ukraine.
What I would say, Mr. Chairman, with the last, it's up to all of us. We're the Senate. We get to decide whether we're going to confirm this nominee. Obviously, we didn't select this nominee. But can't we do better than somebody who doesn't believe in 702? Can't we believe that somebody who can't answer whether Snowden was a traitor 5 times today, who made excuses for Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, the first time that I'm aware of any American official has done that? I'm questioning her judgment. That's the issue that's at stake here. And as you said, and I totally agree, this is about our intelligence officers. And you cannot, most of what we do here is in secret. This is one of the very few opportunities that you will ever have to have a conversation with this panel in public. And the record is going to be very clear about the position you took with regard to Edward Snowden. And the record is going to be very clear about your reaffirmation of the statements you made in the middle of the night when Russia was invading the free country of Ukraine. And
Senator
I hope
Bennett,
we will take that in consideration when we have this vote.
Your time has expired. I will I will note that during Senator Bennett's question and answer, there was 2 disturbances in the room. The first sounded like a cell phone. I would ask everyone on both sides of the dais, if you have not silenced or turned off your cell phone, please do so now. The second disturbance was the cries of a small child. We will welcome such disturbances because the cries of an infant are the sound of answered prayers.
Is that true? Do you think Snowden was a traitor? Like I lean towards yes, probably, but I haven't like dug in deep on it. But like I feel like from what I've read, I feel like I don't know. And then I see him now; he tweets the standard like populist bullshit. But I don't have like a super strong opinion on that. I could be swayed back the other way. I'm not sure. Wait, let me get my water real quick. Hold on.
Senator Rounds.
Not only here, but the answered prayers in church when they cry as well, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thank you for your service to our country. I think part of the discussion here, as you can see, we feel.
By definition of what he did, he's a traitor. If you're good or not about what he did is a different matter. I mean, like, if you tried to report something and it wasn't going through or the right channels weren't being accepting of it and you really felt like people were acting in an unconstitutional manner or something, there's got to be some whistleblower carve out there. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I don't know if I would call this person a traitor or treasonous or whatever, right? Wait, hold on one second. How to get my my teeth. Okay.
Feel very, very strongly about FISA 702. We work with it literally every day. As you can also tell, we have some very, very strong feelings here with regard to the actions of Edward Snowden. I want to come back, and I'm going to give you.
There is a whistleblower carve out. He just didn't do any of the procedures expected of a whistleblower. Did he really not try at all? Because if so, that would.
Opportunity to make any corrections or to make any other comments with regard to both of those issues that have been brought up here. But before I get into that, I want to go back into a little bit of your previous history as well. You did serve as Hawaii's, you served as a congressperson for what, 8 years?
Yes, Senator.
And during that time, you served on the Armed Services Committee. And during that time period, you did carry a TS-SCI clearance. You worked your way through that time period. Had an opportunity to look at a lot of information. Can you share just a little bit about the way that you've looked at that, not just as a member of the congressional delegation from Hawaii, but also during the time in which you were a lieutenant colonel serving up through and including a battalion commander? Talk about that a little bit, please.
Thank you, Senator, for your question. In both of those roles, I had exposure to different sides of how critical our national security is and the unique role that our intelligence community plays in ensuring our national security. My most recent deployment with the military was as part of a joint special operations task force to Djibouti and Somalia, where our mission was to support the Somalis government and military's focus on defeating al-Shabaab, which is al-Qaeda's element there within East Africa. One of the things that we came across there that I hadn't known previously, even having served in Congress for 8 years because it hadn't been focused on, was how al-Shabaab specifically was the biggest funder of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which again should be of unique concern and interest to our own national security concerns. Being able to engage with came across there that I hadn't known previously, even having served in Congress for 8 years because it hadn't been focused on, was how al-Shabaab specifically was the biggest funder of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which again should be of unique concern and interest to our own national security concerns.
Wait, where is al-Shabaab or whatever? What does this come from?
Being able to engage with world leaders in both capacities, in uniform and as a member of Congress, being a customer of intelligence in both of those
Somalia. Okay.
roles, gives me a unique perspective, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, to come in with fresh eyes, to come in with some of the frustrations that I experienced as a member of Congress with the lack of information that we received from the intelligence community, oftentimes feeling as though everything we heard in a brief could have been read in the newspaper.
She is big on war on terror, if I'm not mistaken. So I got to be really careful because I don't know if she's made statements about that. Oh, I'm always really careful. If somebody says that they're big on war on terror, that could mean that they genuinely don't want terrorism and they're against terrorism. But I think it can also be a dog whistle for anti-US because they'll say something like, I'm anti the war on terror, but then they'll say things like, notice how a lot of the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia and bin Laden came from Saudi Arabia. So they use the war on terror as a vector to attack Saudi Arabia because it's a U.S. ally and it stands in opposition to the Iranian power and then Russia. So you have to be really careful when somebody says they're anti-war on terror, that if the only thing they ever do is shit on, like, they say, oh, I'm against the war on terror, and then they exclusively shit on Saudi Arabia and that's it. It's like, but yeah.
That morning, and the essential oversight role that all of you play here in Congress. You are unable to do so unless you are equipped with that intelligence and information. I'm committed to fulfilling that responsibility if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence.
Okay, now, when you and I first met, I told you
Destiny, literally, you called it. Wait, hold on, what? September 15th. This is 6 years ago. Trump awaits instructions from his Saudi masters. Having our country act as Saudi Arabia's bitch is not American for... Oh, yeah, I got you. But, well, this is it, yeah.
I thought you needed to kind of take a change in the direction that you were going with regard to how you were approaching the private conversations, and that we wanted you to sit down and meet with some folks who were directly involved in gathering the intelligence and so forth. You did that.
Yes.
And then we came back and we sat back down again. And what those individuals who I had talked to and I asked you to talk with shared with me that they thought that you were a quick study and that you had the opportunity to look at a number of the issues that this committee considers to be extremely sensitive, and 702 in particular. Now, I've got about a minute left, but I want to give you an opportunity in front of this committee to share your position in your own words about how strong or how much it is needed with regard to the continuation of 702 and your support for it.
Thank you, Senator. 702 provides a unique security tool and capability that is essential for our national security. There are a number of areas that we would be blind from a national security perspective without this capability. It also must exist next to having safeguards in place to ensure Americans' civil liberties are protected.
Destiny, at least we ignore how many of them support Assad. Ignoring Assad and Russia helped certain terrorist groups as they acted as proxies during occupation of Iraq. The Syrians were arming groups in Iraq, even into the age of ISIS, which is why we started actions directly in Syria. But hey, they bombed some terrorists, so they're good. Yeah, Middle East shit is cancerous as fuck because people will misrepresent what's actually happening because there's so many different sides that are fighting, like at all points in time. So one of the common dog whistle talking points will be, well, Russia finally went down to Syria and they got rid of ISIS. Russia was bombing ISIS, and Russia was finally doing something about the terrorists in Syria. They were bombing ISIS. Russia didn't give a fuck about ISIS. Russia gave a fuck about people that were opposing Assad. Now, at points, ISIS was a huge opposition to Assad. They were literally taking over huge swaths of territory and running their oil fields. But so was the FSA and other factions that were fighting in Syria that we would consider not bad guys. Now, bad guy, good guy in the Middle East gets a little bit weird. But yeah, whenever Russia or people were doing ops in Syria and people are like, oh, good, they're going after the terrorists. They don't give a fuck they're going after the terrorists. And Russia doesn't give a fuck about terrorists. And Syria doesn't give a fuck about terrorists. What they care about are oppositional forces to Assad, of which ISIS was a major one.
As you know, Senator, it is illegal under 702 to target any U.S. person. There are several other sections within FISA that speak to some of the civil liberties reforms that you all passed in last year's legislation.
So let me finish with this. 702 in its current form stays in effect for the next year. You would agree that there were reforms made which fixed a number of the items that you had a problem with in the first place. Is that correct?
It's correct, Senator, and some of those reforms that you enacted were specific to some of the legislation that I introduced back when I was in Congress, such as prohibiting the abouts collection as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Gillibrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Gabbard, for your service, both in Congress and in our U.S. military. I want to talk to you a little bit about your perspectives on China. How do you view China in your national security role?
Our relationship with China is one that is complex. Given how closely our economies are linked, there are a number of challenges and threats that need to be navigated with respect to China, some of which have come up most recently with this very serious cyber exploitation in Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon that seemingly took us by surprise in the compromising of our major telecom companies and an area of significant and great concern.
So some of your past statements that are relevant to China are concerning because I don't think it fully appreciates China's perspective towards the United States. For example, with regard to TikTok. Your past statements have essentially said that requiring domestic ownership of TikTok is a violation of civil liberties, and the national security concerns are complete BS. Can you explain why you have this view on TikTok?
The position that I previously made, obviously not as a member of Congress, as you consider the TikTok legislation, were centered around the protection of Americans' First Amendment rights and the lack of data privacy legislation, frankly, that would apply to TikTok, Facebook, X, all of these different social media applications that collect on us as users of these applications. There were other provisions within that legislation that granted very vague and grandiose authorities to the president on deciding which private companies are or are not a...
How much damage will this retarded cabinet do to America in the next 4 years? Potentially a lot, but you have to be careful because it's like you guys keep talking about like the damage that Trump can do or the cabinet can do. The biggest issue isn't the damage that they can do. The biggest issue is just that they're continuing to prepare the American people to accept more and more ridiculous and radical things. That's the issue. But I mean, like the damage they can do is obviously quite significant, but it's also the fact that there's still half the country that's willing to go along with all of it is really bad.
National security threat.
So let's talk about China specifically, because this is where I want to make sure you understand what's at stake. We've had concerns over many years that when China owns infrastructure, it can manipulate that infrastructure. It can use it for spying. It could use it, turn it on or off. And you've actually addressed some of the most recent cyber attacks that we believe China had relevant participation. The challenge is if China owns TikTok, it means they can spy on the United States, on the American people. It can take all the data from our children. It can change the narrative about what people are talking about through their algorithms. If it wants to create misinformation or malign foreign influence, it's very easy. So can you understand why it's so important that we require domestic ownership of TikTok?
I understand the concern, Senator. I would just reiterate some of my concerns that I stated in the past about how this really is an issue about data privacy because so much of what is collected by all of these, even U.S.-owned companies, can be sold to any country.
I get it, and that is a bigger issue for Congress to wrestle.
To be clear, they can't be sold to any country. There was a law passed right before. I believe it was H.R. 7520. The one banning TikTok, I think, was H.R. 7521. H.R. 7521 is the one that bans TikTok. However, H.R. 7520 is the one that bans you from selling data, Protecting Americans' Data from Foreign Adversaries Act. So what she just said was not true. I don't know if anybody gives a fuck about the actual law, though, but what she just said was wrong, but okay.
And I am all in for that conversation.
Didn't that one not pass? Wait, did it not? No, I'm almost positive this did. Wait, if this didn't pass, that would be really retarded. For HR 7522 to have passed. Okay, wait, there's an easy way when you're supposed to be able to click and see where this bill is at currently. Okay, latest action in the Senate on March 21st, received in the Senate and read twice and referred to the Committee on Commerce section. Okay. Oh, wait, has this one not passed yet? Oh, well, that's pretty fucking retarded. So TikTok could be banned from being owned from ByteDance, but they could still sell all of their data? Okay, well, I don't know. I'm assuming this one is expected to pass the Senate, but maybe not. Okay.
But I want you to appreciate China. What is your view with regard to Taiwan?
Oh, no, wait. Fuck. We've done. Oh, shit. We just looped. We just did this exact same thing before. I'm sorry. This one didn't pass, but I think it was included as part of a larger spending bill or the continuing resolution, I think. And it passed as a part of that, but it wouldn't be considered HR 7520. It would be part of the continuing resolution. Is there a way to related bills? Hold on. Let me check. Okay, yes. Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. Okay, so I believe that the entire thing was rolled into this, and this is considered a continuing resolution because it was just funding some shit, making emergency supplemental appropriations for the fiscal. Okay, it was rolled into that. The related bills here. Okay, gotcha. We did this. Okay, so I was right. Fuck them.
Taiwan. Do you think it is something that your intelligence efforts will understand how important our relationship is with Taiwan, specifically on chips manufacturing? I think President Trump has most recently decided to have a 100% tariff on all chips from Taiwan. And your statements, particularly about the bill we passed, the CHIPS Act, to make sure that domestic production is invested in, and so that we have that supply chain, and so we have that national security. But your public statements about the CHIPS Act have been very negative and don't seem to appreciate how important that independence is for our national security, to be beholden to China, to be beholden to Taiwan, to be in a place where we can't do our own national intelligence.
Yes, Senator, I fully support the investment in building and strengthening our own domestic capabilities. If I recall, that legislation had a lot of other provisions in it that had nothing to do with the production of our own capability, and I felt were a distraction away from and a potential obstacle towards achieving that.
So you will recommend to the President that we continue to invest in the semiconductor industry in the United States for our own independence as well as our own national security?
Yes, Senator, and I would base my recommendations on a number of all of these issues, if confirmed as DNI, based on the full assessment of the intelligence picture so that the President understands the ramifications and the potential cost towards any one of these policy positions that he will make and all of you will make.
And last, I want to return to the Soleimani strike. At the time, you said it was illegal, that President Trump did was illegal, would cause very significant problems down the line. What is your position on that strike, and will you be able to advise the President in future issues with regard to national security?
Those broader issues that I raised with regard to war powers, I have been consistent on. I didn't have access to all of the information behind that strike at the time, and my concerns were that that may be an escalatory action. President Trump was right. There was no escalation beyond that, and his policies towards Iran turned out to be very effective for our own national security.
There were no escalate. I'm sorry. Didn't Iran? I think there were two things. I think one, they bombed one of our, or they tried to bomb something, some military base in Iraq, and then I think they tried to shoot missiles at something else, but they accidentally blew up their own plane. That's not funny. I'm sorry. It's tragic. It's not good, but like. But I think there was a military base that got bombed, and then they tried to shoot missiles, and they hit one of their own planes for some reason. Do you think the strike was retarded? Nah, fuck Soleimani. That motherfucker he was in charge of killing so many U.S. troops. Fuck that dude.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand.
Do you disagree with the president taking away the protection for those who are now being targeted in retaliation for the Soleimani strike, such as previous Secretary Pompeo?
Senator, I can't answer that without being able to look at the intelligence assessment and the threat assessment for that or other decisions.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Senator Young.
Tulsi, good to see you. We had a nice visit in the office.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here today. It was clear from that visit in the office that we share a lot of concerns about ill-advised foreign regime change interventions, about the weaponization in certain instances of our domestic law enforcement and intel authorities. Let me talk about something, Edward Snowden, on which we may not agree. It's been recognized he fled overseas with the numbers 1.5 million classified documents. He shared them with the press. He absconded to China and Russia. Do you have any response to the bipartisan findings of the House Intel Committee, which stated that, quote, Snowden caused tremendous damage to national security, unquote, including to military, defense, and intelligence programs of great interest to America's adversaries? I'll give you an opportunity to respond, hopefully briefly.
Thank you, Senator. As I've said before, Edward Snowden broke the law, and I do not agree with how he chose to release information and the extent of the information and intelligence that he released. It's my focus on the future, and I think we can all agree that we do not want to have another Snowden-type leak, and I've laid out specific actions, if confirmed as DNI, to do that.
Okay. Well, it's notable you didn't say, yes, he clearly hurt in various ways our national security. The same House committee also reported that based on DoD assessments, should the Chinese or Russians access certain documents relating to DoD capabilities that we know Snowden stole, quote, American troops will be at greater risk in any future conflict, unquote. Do you have any reflection on this assessment?
I would be very concerned about that. I have not had access to the information or intelligence that led to that assessment, but anything that puts our men and women in uniform unnecessarily at risk should be a grave concern.
Unnecessarily.
I share that sentiment as a former Marine Corps intelligence officer. When we find that Americans, whether private citizens or contractors or uniformed personnel, have shared sensitive designs about military technology or plans to a foreign government, however well-intentioned, we rightfully throw the book at them. Snowden did just that, yet you have argued, and many times, that he should be pardoned. You introduced legislation, as has been discussed here. He's been able to publicly hide, as I see it, behind this facade of being a so-called whistleblower. But he likely endangered American lives through his actions. So, as the leader of the intelligence community, how would you think you would be received based on some of these past actions to support or even to pardon Edward Snowden? Rank-and-file intelligence analysts and intelligence professionals. How do you think it will be received?
I'm grateful, Senator, to have received letters of endorsement and support from many current and former individuals who've worked within the intelligence community, those who've worked or are still working within our military, because I believe they trust that my goal, my sole goal and interest is in our nation's security and upholding our oath to the Constitution. And they trust that if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will take the very specific steps that I have laid out in informing every single person within the intelligence community about the legal pathways they have to blow the whistle or to bring any concerns to the forefront, to include coming directly to members of Congress, to limit access so that we don't have people who are E3s or E4s or people in any situation taking it upon themselves to release classified information, giving them a direct line to me to once again make sure that we are all fulfilling our responsibility to ensure our national security and uphold our Constitution.
Thank you. Tulsi, was Edward Snowden false to an obligation or false to a duty?
I don't understand what you're saying. False?
Yes. Did he betray a duty? But did he betray the trust of the American people? Which is, according to Merriam-Webster, that's the definition of a traitor.
Edward Snowden broke the law.
Not the dictionary.
And he released this information in a way that he should not have. He also acknowledged and exposed information that was unconstitutional, which drove a lot of the reforms that this body has made over the years to make sure that Americans' constitutional rights are protected.
For what it's
Is Tulsi expected to pass the... They must report on this beforehand, right? With some senators remaining undecided on her nomination. I understand how critical our national security is, Gabbard said. If it wasn't her, who would they? If one Republican flips, then no. Why? Is there already one or two against it? What is the composition of the Senate right now? I don't even fucking know. I haven't followed any fucking Senate composition USA. Are there some that have already said no? It's 53-45. So wouldn't you need 3 or 4? Why are you saying only one has to flip? Oh, true. We should just check the betting odds. Poly Market, Tulsi, Gabbard. Damn. 50-50. Fitty-fitty. Doesn't she have to make it through the committee first? What? No, it's just a straight vote from the Senate, no? She has to get out of committee? Wait, what the fuck does that mean? Am I a retard? Wait, what does that mean, get out of committee? Is it different for the DNI head? I thought every Senate confirmation was just... Or is there like a current investigation into her or something that is... She has to be recommended by this committee before the Senate vote. Is this unique to the DNI head? Wait, link me this process. I have no fucking idea how this works. Gabbard must receive a majority approval vote in the committee before a nomination can be put up for a confirmation vote before the full Senate. No, that's how all nominations work. Any Senate confirmed person, even judges. Oh, I've never fucking heard of this before in my entire life. Do people just tend to always pass the committee things? All appointments start in committee. Rubio started in Foreign Relations Committee. Supreme Court starts in Judiciary Committee. Because they usually aren't this shit of picks. Oh, okay. Well, damn. Oh, our good friend Francesca tweeted this. Bad day and a bad look for the leftists on here to start hating identity politics and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know we all hate centrist corporate co-optation of these things, but we've got a Nazi-backed president who's blaming the blood on his hands on the disabled. If you're attacking these things from the left, the next words out of your mouth better be equal pay and reparations. Reparations? For like the people who died, or reparations like from slavery? Meanwhile, some of us out here are in the fucking crosshairs, bleeding out in our cars. Act accordingly. If you can't see the attacks on POC, women, queer people, disabled are all a Trojan horse to roll back the civil rights movement and undermine workers, to siphon more money to the rich, and to install the white supremacist Christian nationalism? Okay. The culture war is the class war. Oh, wait, fuck. Is she like a full-on like Marxist person? Or... Yeah, I know why you're saying one Republican now, because it's just for the to survive the committee thing. Damn, okay. She's very far left. Well, not just very far left. It sounds like she's like a Marxist person or like a socialist or whatever. This like culture war is bullshit. It's all about class war. It's like a kind of like a Marxist socialist calling card. Isn't that just bog standard progressivism nowadays? No, progressives will focus a lot more on culture related stuff, or like IDPOL, identity politics related stuff. But progressives and Marxists can fight a lot on certain areas depending on how, if a person, but it's confusing because like some progressives will call themselves socialists or Marxists, but because they believe in like the form of government, but some hardcore like Marxist, like I think you can see this expressed. I don't watch as much content, so I can't tell, but I've seen on Hassan's stream sometimes the stuff we watched. Sometimes he's very upset about like IDPOL stuff. People are like, why this IDPOL stuff is a distraction, or this doesn't matter, this is stupid, or like rainbow capitalism, like nobody cares if like a corporation is going to be gay friendly, like that's all bullshit. But the so they just want to focus on class related stuff as well. So In case you missed it, boxer Ryan Garcia launches a meme coin. 40% of all the $ Ryan supply will go to charity. Token immediately takes 90%. Ryan deletes his post. The only official Ryan meme is live, fighting to shape a stronger, braver, more independent American youth. You can now buy Ryan. How are we just like launching meme coins? They're just called meme coins. They're just like called, like, the whole point is that it's a meme coin. How are these people not in jail? Well, now that Trump is president, I'm pretty sure that their SEC probably doesn't want to regulate shit like this. So, right? Because they're not going to prosecute Trump. Jesus. Is this true? The State Department website has replaced LGBT with LGB. Oh, it's down there. I see it. Fuck. LGB travelers. Oh my goodness. LGB travelers can face special challenges abroad. Laws and attitudes in some countries may affect safety and ease of travel. Finally, winning the true culture wars. Now we're going to be fighting over whether the T's go up on these fucking websites every 4 years. Holy shit. Maybe trans rights have just gotten so good across the world that trans travelers just don't face any more issues. Maybe that's really the takeaway here. The New York doctor was indicted in Louisiana for sending abortion pills there. Damn. The Louisiana indictment by a grand jury in West Baton Rouge Parish follows what is believed to be the first civil suit filed against an abortion provider in a shield law state. Welp. Okay. I need to be read on this. Okay, boring legal time. Sorry. Is there like is there an active docket for this case right now? Like, has anything been filed by the other side? So this is the Donald Trump as an individual is suing Ann Seltzer, Seltzer and Company, Des Moines Register and Tribune Company, and Gannett Company, Inc. MAGA gets their way. Do you not see a complete rollback of CRA, specifically bringing back free association? I don't even know what CRA, wait, what? Oh, here's the docket. Jesus. Okay, notice of removal. Wait. What was this? No, don't care. Do we care about this at all? What really happened on J6? What was this?
And finally arrested me, and I, as Stuart said, I guess bitched out. I did take a plea.
That wasn't what I was saying.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers. These are the guys that were storing all of the guns near D.C. that were ready to run them in with the quick response forces in case Trump called for them to go and take it by force. Jesus Christ. Getting pardoned for J6. What really happened? Finally, we got the real guys on to tell us what really happened. Unbelievable. Trump filed an amended complaint today, January 31st. Oh. I don't think I could even handle watching this. I think I'll fucking kill myself. Jesus.